So, good evening. I've been going through a lot of grief about San Diego, and my last video I think I shared was me crying on camera, but I'm fine now. It feels good to cry sometimes. I've just tapped into some pretty powerful inner child. Shannon Kringen as a 9-year-old leaving San Diego abruptly and processing that and trying not to judge myself for being 57 and sort of not fully over that trauma. Um, because I think that for years I felt like it wasn't okay for me to be mad at my mom for taking me away from my grandma and my dad for many years. And I personally, I've never had kids, but I know that my opinion is that every child deserves to have all the feelings that they have, whether they're angry, anger, guilt, fear, shame, love, joy, sadness. Every emotion is allowed. And as somebody who has studied acting, you would never tell somebody studying acting that they shouldn't feel a certain emotion. I mean, part of why I like taking acting classes is because it's permission to feel every emotion that humans feel. Anger, fear, joy, sadness, love, fear, anger, and I already said it, but all the different feelings. So I just met with an organizer. I'm proud of myself today. Actually, a couple weeks ago, I met with a life coach, and then I forgot to do a follow-up video about that, but I met with a life coach, and that was helpful. And just now, I did a consultation with a decluttering professional consultant, and I reconnected with a clinic, a mental health care clinic that I used to work with years ago that I lost touch with. And ever since I was diagnosed, ever since I was told that I was on the autism spectrum officially, I am OCD, ADHD, dyslexic, left-handed, only child, and on the autism spectrum. And so my brain is a bit neurodivergent. As cliche as that sounds these days, because everyone talks about how they're neurodivergent. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people talk about it. And I'm not throwing these labels around casually. I'm saying that I'm trying new things. And so I'm proud of myself I'm trying to not abandon myself. My poem says, self-abandonment got me stranded again, polluted and uprooted. So, oh, that's it. See, self-abandonment got me stranded again, polluted and uprooted. When my mom and I left San Diego, it was her idea, not my idea. She divorced my dad when I was 4, and when I was 9, she decided to start a new life and move. And she wanted to get away from my grandma and my step-grandpa and get away from my biological father, that was her ex-husband. So we left, and I didn't want to leave. And part of me wishes that my parents had given me up for adoption sometimes when I'm upset. And part of me wished that my mom had given me a choice and said, okay, Shannon, I want to start a new life. Do you want to come from San Diego to Washington with me and live on Whidbey Island with me? Or do you want to stay in San Diego with your dad and your grandma? But my mom didn't give me that choice. She just took me with her. And my grandma and my dad were upset about it, but they let her go. My grandma and my dad thought about taking my mom to court and trying to fight to get joint custody so that my dad and my mom could have joint custody of me, but my mom didn't want to give my dad joint custody, and that's a whole nother long story. I'm just saying that self-abandonment got me stranded again, polluted and uprooted. I feel like when I was 9 years old, I decided my mom could not handle my being a separate person from her. So I feel like I just sort of shut down. As a 9-year-old, I think I shut down. I think today I talked with a counseling intake person, and she said, sounds like you have post-traumatic stress disorder from that. And I would say self-abandonment got me stranded again, polluted and uprooted. That poetry phrase popped into my head and I wrote it down. And I think that that is, um, perhaps as a 9-year old, I chose to shut my feelings down because I felt like it wasn't okay for me to be mad at my mom. I felt guilt and shame because my mom and dad both told me about all of their problems when I was in third grade. I knew too much about what they were concerned about in their love lives and in their careers. And so that was too much for me as a 9-year old to handle. Um, so it's almost like my mom and dad were my older brother and my older sister, and we had no parents. That's kind of what it felt like on some emotional level. See, my parents are both highly sensitive, creative, talented people, but there was boundaries that were not appropriate. And so I am still trying to pick up the pieces. Somebody said to me, pick up the pieces. Pete Droge, the wonderful musician who as a he was adopted and he wrote an album about it called Fade Away Blue. It's a beautiful folk rock album that's out now. And I shared with him that his album is about the grief of looking for his biological mother and then finding out she passed away just a few months before he connected with her. And so but he did get to meet some of his other biological family, but that's a whole nother thing. I was not adopted, but Pete Droge was adopted by this wonderful man and woman who raised him as their own, and they have both passed away. So Pete wrote an album about the grief, about trying to reconnect with his biological mother and also saying goodbye to his parents who adopted him, who both passed away. And so he wrote these beautiful songs about it. But me, I feel like I listen to that album and I feel a sense of grief about there's part of me that wishes my parents had given me up for adoption. Of course, then I would wonder who my biological parents were, but parents who were able to focus. I mean, if I could be a magician and fix my childhood, it would be that I would wish that I wish that my parents had been able to, because they were both neglected by their parents. And so I wish that my parents had been able to help me feel safe and a sense of that I could pursue my dreams and focus on myself more because I felt like my job as little Shannon was to help take care of, like, I was their sidekick. I was supposed to, like, I felt like I was waiting for my mom and dad to figure out their love lives and their career, and then they could focus on me. And then I think about parents who are there for their kids in a certain way and help their kids pursue their dreams. And the kid doesn't have to be burdened with knowing about the adult problems, because that's too much for a third grader to really handle. And I was a little kid. I couldn't help my mom and dad fix their love lives and fix their career challenges. I didn't have the ability to do that. Not only was it not my job as their daughter, I didn't know how to do it anyway. So I'm still just sorting through all of this, and I'm a workaholic. My way of coping is I became a workaholic. I don't drink or smoke or do drugs. I'm not I'm not particularly addicted to, I guess sometimes I eat too much ice cream. I'm a little overweight and I eat too much ice cream sometimes, but I generally eat healthy and I exercise and I don't drink or smoke or do drugs. But what I'm addicted to is going to Goodwill and buying a bunch of clothes that I don't need. Of course, they're super cheap. I go to the I go to the Goodwill bin place where you get things by the pound, so things end up being $2 a piece. Um, so I'm sort of addicted to going to Goodwill and I'm addicted to work. And work addiction is a good addiction to have because it's very practical. You're earning a living and supporting yourself, and plus, I'm full-time freelance, and so my schedule is so random that every time someone wants to hire me, I say yes because I don't have a regular schedule. I don't know when my next job's going to be, so I tend to want to say yes to everything. So, but because of that, I'm running all over. In fact, I made a therapy appointment today for the beginning of December, and of course, I got a modeling gig on at the same time, so I have to switch that. Um, so I'm just feeling better now. I'm gonna start seeing a counselor again, and I'm gonna work with this declutter person and see how that goes. And I talked to a life coach a couple weeks ago. I've been crying, and every time I have the urge, I just watched a documentary about the comedian Eddie Murphy. And I burst into tears when I saw him as a little kid and he talked about being a 9-year old and how when he was 9 years old, he knew that he wanted to be an entertainer. He already knew that he wanted to do that. And I just remember when I was 9 and I already was a very creative person who wanted to perform and be on stage and have an audience. And I'm in a play this weekend at Seattle Center called It's About Damn Time, where I do two of my Goddess Kring songs and I am performing. And this video is just about me talking about that I'm working through my grief. And I'm in a play this weekend doing two of my songs, and I eventually want to do a one-woman show. And I wrote down some websites that I want to connect with. So I'm working on healing and growing in my personal life as well as my artistic life. I just wanted to make this video to document the mood I'm in right now, which is a lot better. I was a little bit depressed before I met with this organizer person. I thought I was just going to go to sleep early and just sort of hide out. And now I feel inspired to kind of clean and organize a little bit before I go to bed and, yeah, go for a nice brisk walk to get my exercise before I sleep. And yeah, I'm going through waves of grief when I saw Eddie Murphy as a cute little kid, making his brother crack up in these family photos, and it just made me think of myself as a 9-year old and how young 9 years old really is. And I'm also going through menopause right now, and my eyes are really dry. Like my eyes, I have dry eye and my eyes burn, so I have to put drops in my eyes. And I feel like my hair is getting really dry and my skin is dry, and just my whole body feels weird going through menopause. And so I'm feeling really awkward about that. And I'm going through a really awkward phase right now in my life. And I really want to take better care of myself. And when I say self-abandonment got me stranded again, polluted and uprooted, I'm just so like polluted and uprooted. I know what that means now. The way we left San Diego was so abrupt and I had no control over it. And what's sad is that I'm 57 years old right now and people say, "Oh, well, you can move back to San Diego if you want to." And I'm like, "No, I can't. I can't. I can't move. No, I can't move back to San Diego. It's too complicated. It's too expensive. It's too hard. I'm too scared. I don't know anybody down there." I thought, I can't do that. I can't. But the thing is, I'm 57, so actually I can. So in other words, there's part of me that still feels like I'm 9 years old because I'm really resourceful and I work hard. And so I know, and in fact, I know a way in to get a fair price on housing in San Diego. I know a certain thing, how to connect with a certain community down there. And I know that if I really wanted to, I probably could move down there. Um, I don't really know if I want to. I don't know if I know that I still love San Diego. I love the eucalyptus trees. I love the ocean. I love so much about it. But part of it is the loss that I felt during my childhood. And I literally went to my grandma's old house and wanted to buy the house. Like it's not even for sale, and I couldn't afford it anyway. Real estate in San Diego is, even more expensive than Seattle, and Seattle is known for being very expensive, but San Diego is really expensive. But I had this urge to buy my grandma's house. Like, I feel like if I had millions of dollars and it was for sale, I would buy my grandma's old house and then I would work with a therapist on how to heal from leaving San Diego. That's funny. And then see if I can find a way to make a living and find new friends in San Diego and just hang out on the beach with the sea lions in La Jolla Cove. That's kind of one of my fantasies. So I'm just like, what? That's kind of bizarre that I have all these thoughts about. So I might pet sit in San Diego and house sit and pet sit for somebody in San Diego for free, basically, to have an affordable vacation. So go down there and just do that for free and have an affordable vacation. I have frequent flyer miles that I could use. So I have an affordable way to go down there because I drove down there with my friend a couple months ago and it was good to drive all the way down there and all the way back. 2,400 miles round trip. That was intense because I hadn't really done that since my mom and I came up here in our Volkswagen van in 1977 when I was 9 years old. So that was really stressful coming up here. So, and we lived in Petaluma briefly. We went to Hawaii, Maui, Hawaii for 4 days, and then we lived in Petaluma, and then we went to Whidbey Island, and man, it was really complicated. So I just am still processing going back to San Diego and I still love it down there. The smell of the eucalyptus trees, the smell of the ocean, the feeling in the air, the vibes, the energy, the Warwick's bookstore in La Jolla. My mom used to work there. Warwick's is an amazing bookstore. It's one of the oldest family-owned bookstores. And El Indio Mexican restaurant has been around since 1940. And there's just a lot of things about San Diego that are very much the same that they were in the 70s. Like there's something really comforting about some cities change. Seattle has actually changed a lot. San Diego still has a lot of the same things that they had in the 70s. It's kept sort of its old charm, and it's just something about it is a magical place for me, and it probably always will be. And maybe I will just visit there once a year, or maybe I'll retire there when I'm 70. I have no idea. I just know that I'm processing all of my emotions. And so I'm going to work with a new counselor to figure out what I can do to grow and heal and evolve as a human, and working with this declutter person to organize my space to see if I can make any breakthroughs with that. So I just wanted to document. It is November 18th, 2025, and I'm going to perform this weekend at Seattle Center for the Theater of Puget Sound on the fourth floor of the Armory Building at Seattle Center, Theater number 4, Friday and Saturday, 7:30 p.m. and Sunday at 2 p.m. What is the date this weekend? This weekend is, and then tomorrow I'm probably going to go to the Gary Fagan Memorial. He's an artist who passed away. Rest in peace, Gary Fagan. Friday the 21st at 7:30 p.m., Saturday the 22nd of November at 7:30 p.m., and Sunday the 23rd of November at 2 p.m. at the Theater of Puget Sound at the Seattle Center. If you have questions or comments, let me know. I'm going to try to film and video and photo my performance and put them on my YouTube channel. Eventually might want to do a one-woman show. Uh, I recently talked to a woman who does performance art, and she has done one-woman shows, and that would be really cool. To dabble more into that. And I am doing spoken word with Poetry Bridge once a month at the C&P Coffee in West Seattle. That's once a month. And I'm one of the open mic people who does 5 minutes. And I listen to the three featured readers who get, I think, 10 minutes each. And in March 2026, I will be the featured reader. At the C&P Coffee for Poetry Bridge. So these are some artistic things. So I'm doing this, and I'm doing well, even though I'm grieving and crying and I have moods, and my apartment is cluttery and messy, and I'm still trying to figure out how to organize myself. I do keep my career together. I work at a bunch of different medical schools and art schools, and I somehow am organized enough to keep all that straight and keep that together. So I need to give myself credit for that. Um, so I'm working on the poetry and the music. I'm writing a new song called Shan Diego with Dave Flowers from Interactive Jack Records. I know I always say that, but that's what I'm working on. These are the constructive things I'm doing. Um, but lately I've been bursting into tears when I think about 9-year-old me leaving San Diego, and it was really, really, really traumatic. I don't remember. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 4. I don't remember that being horrible. I remember it was hard going back and forth between my mom and my dad. Like I lived with my mom in a house, and I would see my dad in his small apartment on weekends, and then I would also go to my grandma's house, and she would help babysit me, and I would visit my grandma and my step grandpa. I remember it was hard going back and forth, but I don't remember it. And they would say negative things about each other and, to me. That did not feel good. But I don't remember that being awful because I saw both of them back and forth. But leaving San Diego was very traumatic. So very hard for me leaving um, physical comfort of San Diego, which is 70 something all degrees Fahrenheit all year round, no exaggeration. And People who have never been to San Diego assume it's really hot there. It's really not. It's really not like 100 degrees there. It's not. It's pretty much in this, if you stay near the coast, it's pretty much in the 70s almost all year round. It might go up and down a little bit, but and the sun is pretty strong there, but there's always an ocean breeze and there's sort of thick eucalyptus smelling air there's this breeze, there's this sort of feeling in the air of the air feels thick down there, like it's slightly humid, and I forgot what that felt like. It feels slightly tropical, even though it's different than Los Angeles. It's different than LA seems drier to me. San Diego seems more moist and like lots of green, leafy green eucalyptus trees and bottle brush and bird of paradise and hibiscus and I don't know, ice plant. And I forgot all the names of all the plants down there, but it's just, I really like the ecosystem and the sea lions and the ocean and the sort of energy, the vibe, you know? You know, if I could do anything I wanted, I would probably buy a house in La Jolla and hang out with the sea lions on the beach and just do my artwork and maybe have an art studio at I think it's called Spanish Village at Balboa Park near the Old Globe Theater. I love Balboa Park and El Indio and La Jolla and Mission Valley, Fashion Valley, University Town Center, San Diego State University and UCSD and La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club and just like Belmont Park and Mission Bay and Ocean Beach and Pacific Beach and Sunset Cliffs and just all these beautiful places and Torrey Pines and Cuyamaca and Black's Beach. And these are, you know, San Diego places I remember. And it will always be a special place to me, San Diego. So that's where I was born. And I lived there for the first 9 years of my life. And it had a very strong impact on me. And I'm tired of abandoning myself. I don't want to abandon myself anymore. And I'm tired of feeling guilty for being born. And I'm tired of feeling ashamed for my feelings, of feeling angry with my parents for not knowing how to be more perfect. You know, I know that no parent is perfect, but it's okay that I feel guilt and shame and anger towards my parents. I feel guilty and ashamed that I was even born, and that is sad. That is very sad. I have empathy for myself. Finally, I have compassion for how hard that was for me as a 9-year-old to feel like I shouldn't have even been born. And like my job was just to help my parents fix their problems so that they could eventually focus on me. And I feel like at 57, I'm still sort of waiting for my parents to like finish whatever they need to do so they can focus on me. And they never will focus on. I mean, I love my parents and they love me. I'm not here to say negative things about them. I'm just saying the wounded child in me is still waiting for them to take care of me. And that's really strange to say as a 57-year-old. And maybe that's part of my autism that I'm not very grown up. I never had kids of my own. I don't have any brothers or sisters. That's it. So I am just who I am. And I am Goddess Kring. I could do anything. You are who you are, maybe near, maybe far. That's a new song called Amplified Chameleon. If you look up Goddess Kring music, you'll see. Okay, I better go now. So thanks for listening. Bye for now. Just wanted to document how I feel.